Starting with Handmaid's Tale and finding the synth sound, I knew I wanted to stay analog, outboard gear, me performing each piece, relying very little, where possible, on the computer generating the sounds. The sound that everyone associates with The Handmaid's Tale, which is that kind of weird droning glissando. I was playing a synth, running it through an old Space Echo, and only allowing the Space Echo sound after the fact. And rather than performing the note changes, I would hit a note and then change the speed at which the tape was rolling, and that would create my intervals for minors and majors. I also have this thing called an echo rec, which uses magnets to create kind of modulation as well as echoes. I put on a really long reverb on these, specifically the higher ones, to actually add some timbre, because with the analog you do lose some of the higher frequencies. In season 2, we see the colonies in Handmaid's Tale for the first time, and I knew I needed to have these almost alien sounding elements. So I have this very atonal bass arpeggio that occurs a lot from the Jupiter, and I had seen on social media these guys out of Canada that make this, which is a theremin, but much easier to play than the old ones. Odd sounding, right? And then in context with some other bits, and then orchestration, of course. Combinations are where it's at, you know, combining this with real orchestra, or in earlier pieces we were looking at, you know, synth with orchestra, and whether it's the pulsing bass or the odd glissando, it's the marrying of the two that kind of bring about a new emotional response for the audience, I think. I would almost always get a locked cut, and when we did music spotting, it was usually with that locked cut, and I didn't like having any scripts or any dailies or anything. It's my first time watching the episode, and I have pad and pen, and I'm taking notes for my initial like emotional reactions to the scenes. Oftentimes my first idea or composition is usually what I end up going with. But it's also because it's based on those initial notes where I went in and started crying or getting angry or whatever. So this was my treat for season 2 of Handmaids. I developed this like arpeggiating, very ominous, threatening sound for a scene when all these poor women are, you know, digging up this toxic dirt and throwing it away. And I also use it for like really lush, kind of like wide analog synth sounds. Because when these things aged, I guess the components, someone explained to me that the components warp, and so your notes get a little wider and a little more warble, which this emulates with a turn of a dial. But this thing did with 30 years of cigarette smoke and French people playing it, because it's from France apparently, as it says on the back. So yeah, love this thing. I want to be buried with it. My background being, you know, guitar, I have kind of my favorite guitar effects pedals, and then all the outboard stuff that it goes through, you know, just sound engineering stuff. But this is usually all the colors, so I have like an old Moog analog delay. I have this when my Space Echo is crapping out, and I have a couple different reverbs with various presets. And like, no matter the chord you play, it's not gonna be in at all. Very strange. And then I think maybe this one. Let me change it to poly. You know, just those really great, staying out of the way, but just something emotive about these old synths, you know? But at the same time, you can't stack too many chords because it can only do 8 voices at a time. So it gets all these weird things when it tries to figure out what you're actually telling it to do. Ghost in the Machine, often, it's like the sound that you chase, and it happens accidentally.